Well, well, well. Sean O'Malley, Mr. Undefeated himself, has quite possibly made a very, very indefensible move in terms of finding his short notice replacement opponent for the main card of UFC 264. I understand that he needed to stay on that card. I really get it. McGregor's in the main event. If Sean O'Malley gets a big win on UFC 264's main card, everyone that's there to watch Conor McGregor will also pay attention to Sean O'Malley, and he will increase his fame dramatically with a great performance on the main card of UFC 264. However, the replacement opponent that Sean O'Malley has found is literal human trash, and it's barely justifiable because he is on a 2-fight win streak. I don't quite remember the man's name. I've just looked at it before starting this video 55 seconds ago, and I've already forgotten his name. I believe it's Kris to start with. Okay, that's the level we're talking about here. I don't know who this man is, and did not know who this man was before he was signed to fight Sean O'Malley. Now, I want to say one thing before we get into this new opponent, and just how terrible he is. Louis Smolka wasn't good enough. Okay? That needs to be mentioned here. Like, we're finding a replacement for Louis Smolka. Louis Smolka being the matchup made in the first place, in my opinion, was barely acceptable. Fair play, Louis Smolka. He's been around for a while. He's actually kind of good, even though he's very low down the rankings in the bantamweight division and hasn't had the best record in the UFC. 2-2 in his last 4. Win one, lose one. Win one, lose one. The story of Louis Smolka's career. He's actually not a bad opponent, and he was a bit of a live dog because of the odds on O'Malley being something like 5-1 or something ridiculous like that. Louis Smolka was a legit okay test, but not really. But I accepted it anyway because, oh well, at least he's a bantamweight guy in the UFC, and at least he's coming off a win against Jose Alberto Quinones, who O'Malley beat as well. So there's some kind of justification to make that fight, but not really. I was still sickened by that matchup being made. In my opinion, even though Thomas Almeida was on losing streak, he's a better opponent than Louis Smolka for Sean O'Malley in the bantamweight division. So I saw this matchup with Smolka as a big step back for O'Malley, but let's talk about this new replacement opponent, okay? Smolka's out with staph infection. O'Malley needs a new opponent. They go looking for new opponents. Many UFC bantamweights volunteer their services to take on Sean O'Malley. Cody Stamann, Ricky Simone, I believe Kelleher even threw his name in a hat. I think Tim Elliott even mentioned something about fighting Sean O'Malley as well. Merab Dvalishvili also said that he would be interested in fighting Sean O'Malley. There was an abundance of people to choose between. There was so many fighters at the UFC's disposal to use as a short notice replacement against Sean O'Malley. And that's on their roster, people willing to take the fight. So even if you go past that, you can start looking at people that maybe didn't volunteer to take on Sean O'Malley and just look down the bantamweight roster of the UFC. But no! Sean O'Malley will be taking on Kris Moutinho in his next bout. Heard of him? No, you haven't. Because why the fuck would you have heard of him? Okay? Yes, he's on a 2-fight win streak. And yes, he's 5-2 in his last 7, which is actually not that atrociously fucking horrible. However, 3 fights ago, this Kris Moutinho guy that Sean O'Malley is now taking on lost to a man in Johnny Campbell who was 17-12. Only Nate Diaz can pull off a record like that. And I don't see no Diaz in this Johnny Campbell's name, so I'm not going to allow him, okay? Johnny Campbell, 17-12, finished this guy in the second round with a triangle choke with elbows as well. Very Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill-esque. Also, he's lost to Tony Gravely in his career. He's lost to 4-4 David Garcia. He lost to 6-5 Brendan Salia Sr. by guillotine choke in the first round. He's been rear naked choked in the first round. He's been TKO'd with elbows by Tony Gravely to ground and pound. He's been triangled and finished with elbows on the ground as well. I mean, this guy's really racking up a real resume of ways to get finished in MMA. He's covering all bases. And I think against Sean O'Malley at UFC 264, he's going to cover the base of being one-punch KO'd by Sean O'Malley on the main card against Conor McGregor. I understand why the UFC have done this. Okay, they want a nice little opponent for Sean O'Malley, and they can use the excuse that it's a short notice replacement to excuse them bringing this guy in from outside of the promotion. But I understand that they want to build a star, but this does not do it. I know it does, kind of, though, because the casual fans, listen, you could have replaced him with Ricky Simone. I saw Sean O'Malley make a post on his Instagram saying, Simone, calling out Ricky Simone, and his fans were like, who's Simone? So you could have actually plucked out anyone, and people would have thought it just some random guy. But to go outside of the UFC to find this opponent, when there were many of them in the UFC to replace Louis Smolka. Louis fucking Smolka was the A game. He was the A side here. That he was the top option. Now we're going below Louis Smolka to find a replacement. I mean, Sean O'Malley's getting can-fed. Like, it's indefensible. He just is getting can-fed. I understand if no other bantamweight could make weight on such short notice. But come on, man. If he loses this one, there is zero fucking redemption. Like, I understand that there's a very good chance he goes out there and gets a KO, but I will say this. People improve in their career, and Kris Moutinho has beat a guy who was 3-0, and he beat him by punches in the second round. Do I believe that he's going to go out there and get an upset against Sean O'Malley? No, I fucking don't, okay? He trains at Regiment Training Center. You may recognize them as the masterminds of MMA that brought you Jorgen fucking De Castro and no one else. That's literally all they've brought to the table. Jorgen De Castro, and he literally just loses good. That's all it is. So maybe that's what they're going for here. They're looking for another guy to come in and not lose too badly to Sean O'Malley, but make sure he gets KO'd at the same time by Sean O'Malley. I believe Sean O'Malley's going to KO this guy in the first round, get a highlight reel KO, walk off most likely, go viral because of it. And I know that no one's going to give him credit for that because they shouldn't, because of how bad the opponent is. But if he loses this, if he loses to Ricky Simone on short notice, it's a nightmare style matchup. I'll get over it. If he loses to this opponent, you can't promote the opponent because he's still shit. Even if he beats Sean O'Malley in any way, just by some random fluke, he manages to catch another perennial nerve kick on Sean O'Malley, or just some craziness happens, and this guy gets a win over Sean O'Malley. One, you can't promote him because he's shit. Okay? Even if he wins against Sean O'Malley, he's shit. The people that he's lost to in his career, you cannot make that guy a superstar. It's genuinely fucking impossible. And two, if O'Malley loses to him, no more undefeated shit. You might have to fucking tally up 5 extra losses. Like, you might need extra losses, in all honesty, if you lose to this opponent. And all of that pressure's going to be on Sean O'Malley. If he loses, he is a fucking laughing stock of the MMA community. Let's just say it how it is. It's such a risky situation, but I fucking get the UFC's thinking here, because I don't know if you guys understand this, but they really need something right now. They have invested millions into Israel Adesanya, and he is not selling them pay-per-views, okay? They are not breaking that million pay-per-view barrier. They need Sean O'Malley to do it for them, and they need Sean O'Malley to jump up the rankings to do that as well. I will say this. No matter what Sean O'Malley did, people would have problems with it. I genuinely believe, though, if he did take on Ricky Simone, he would have got credit from the hardcore MMA fans, because Ricky Simone is a monster in that division. If you don't know Ricky Simone, check him out. I know you know him as maybe the guy who lost to Uriah Faber, but there's way more to him than that. He's lost to good opponents. He beat Merab Dvalishvili, although controversially, he did beat Merab Dvalishvili and put him out at the end of the bell. Ricky Simone is a very good contender. He's on a win streak right now in the bantamweight division. I think that might have been a great matchup for Sean O'Malley. But I understand that if they gave him a ranked opponent here, people would say, oh, why isn't Marlon Vera getting a ranked opponent? Oh, why isn't Ricky Simone getting a ranked opponent? Yeah, why isn't Umar Nurmagomedov getting a ranked opponent? Like, I understand if they gave him a ranked opponent, he'd get shit on for being jumped up and babied by the UFC. And even if they gave him an unranked opponent, people would call it an absolute gimme fight. What a setup. They're just going to get him a win. But there is a way to go about it. And they've made the most perfectly incorrect decision you could possibly have fucking made. Fair enough if you go up, some people are going to be angry at it. Fair enough if you take another unranked opponent, other people are going to be angry at it. But someone who not only is unranked, but isn't even on the fucking roster, and also doesn't fucking deserve to be on the roster. Like, this guy, if he genuinely wanted to get into the UFC, so far he's, what, 9-4? It's not even a terrible record, but the people that he's lost to, my fucking word. It's not even a bad record, but if this guy genuinely wanted to get into the UFC, you're talking about at least another 2 or 3 wins in a row before he's even considered. I'm looking at maybe, let's get him to 12-4, then we'll consider using him as a short notice replacement guy, or maybe we'll feed him to an undefeated guy on the Contender Series, and if he wins impressively enough, maybe we can bring him in and make his dreams come true. But this is literally the most incorrect decision they possibly could have fucking made. Like, it's such bullshit. Unless Ricky Simone and Merab Dvalishvili couldn't make weight on short notice, even then, Tim Elliott was offering a flyweight. He can make bantamweight on short notice easily. I would have taken Tim Elliott over this. I actually think Tim Elliott is actually a decent fighter who could pose some kind of problem, but I think he would also get KO'd in the first round by O'Malley. The point is, this is absolutely fucking blasphemous. Why have they literally, if the UFC has made this decision, well done, O'Malley's got a win. Fingers crossed. If he loses, it's fucking over. Either way, fingers crossed he wins, okay? Fingers crossed. If the UFC have made this decision, well done, O'Malley gets a win, okay? But now he's hated by everyone for being a can crusher. So you've made a problem there. If O'Malley made this decision, first of all, go get your fucking money, dude. Because he's going to make good money here. I think he's probably going to make 150 to show, 150 to win. Maybe 100 to show, 100 to win. Something like that against this guy. So well done. Go get your win bonus. Go get your money. But 2, this is the last fucking guy. Like, if you win this one, I don't care if it maybe doesn't warrant you getting a ranked opponent. A Sunsao just fell out with an injury. If O'Malley wins this one, give him a Sunsao. That's what I want to see next. Give him a Sunsao if he wins this one. And let's just fucking get it over and done with. Get him back in those rankings after this one. Regardless of... No, not regardless. Man, it could backfire so heavily. It's such a shit opponent. It's such a dog shit opponent. And I've watched his fights. He's not even good. Like, I know there's some records where you're like, oh, well, you can't really tell. Like Michael Johnson. Like, early in his career, he had a terrible fucking record. But he was one of the best on Tough. And he won Tough with a shit record. Because he'd fought good opponents and they'd made him look bad, but he's actually pretty good and just below that level of opponent. But when you're just below someone in MMA, you can be completely dominated. But this guy is like, he doesn't know what he's doing out there. A lot of his finishes come after the first round. He takes a first round to warm up into fights. And O'Malley's like one of the most dangerous guys in the first round in the bantamweight division, I would argue. And I would argue that. In terms of being able to KO you round 1, O'Malley's one of the more dangerous guys in that division. I'd say top 3 or 5. But fuck, man. Just win. And do it good. I swear to God, if you TKO this motherfucker, you let Almeida get back up so you could sell t-shirts. O'Malley, if you TKO this motherfucker, if you land hammer fists to a grounded opponent here, you better put him out cold. I want him dead. I don't want him dead. I don't want him to die. Sorry, I need to not put that out there in the world. But, kill him. You know what I'm saying? But don't kill him. You know what I'm saying? Head kick. You know what I mean? Wheel kick. Do something special, or I'm not fucking impressed. He has to impress. If he goes out there and gets a decision, fuck O'Malley. If he goes out there and gets hit a couple of times, gets dropped, gets wobbled, gets taken down at one moment in the fight, you better do some fucking wicked shit to this motherfucker. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.